Good morning, beloveds. Camera's in a weird place. Maybe if I back up. Okay. All right. Okay. There's a front. There's a front that's come through. It is going to drop into the 40s tonight. It's going to stay in the 40. It's going to be in the 40s for 2 nights, and then it'll be back in the 60s for the lows, and then back in the 80s by like Thursday or Friday. And I don't know how I feel about this. I would like it to stay a little cooler, but it is what it is, right? Okay. It is October 17th. Our title is I Chart My Course. Our first quote is, O Lord, open thou my lips, and my mouth shall show forth thy praise. And that is Psalm 51:15. The second quote is, we live in mind, and it can return to us only what we think into it. No matter what we do, law will always obtain. And that is The Science of Mind, page 301. No ship's captain will allow his vessel to be tossed about aimlessly and without direction. They make sure that the helm is well secured and moving towards a plotted course. As captains of our life, each of us, I think that there's a word missing here. Okay. As a captains of our life, each of us needs to exercise similar care. We choose where we shall go and what we shall experience. We may not always actively choose with conscious deliberation, but we do choose nonetheless. These choices are made through the thoughts, feelings, and attitudes we adopt. If what happens in our life is not to our liking, perhaps we need a more positive, God-centered focus to guide us. Universal law responds to our thoughts, feelings, and attitudes, and thus we chart our life accordingly. When we are definite about our dreams and desires, we can trust the universe to fulfill them. But we must be faithful to them and not hinder their fulfillment through indecision, worry, or fear. We are all creative by virtue of our divine nature. Therefore, let's create with positive goals in mind. God created all that is, and I daily use divine wisdom in all that I think, say, and do. I am not afraid to desire good things for myself, for I am a deserving, worthwhile person. Therefore, I choose with love, courage, and great expectation to receive God's good, and I am grateful. And that is MS. That is Margaret Stortz. All right. There's a whole lot to unpack in here. The first one, she used the line, we may not always consciously choose. Not making a choice is still choosing. But not making a choice means that you deal with whatever shows up. Now, the interesting thing is Jesse's been doing this series called Stay Astonished, and one of the things that he has been talking about is exactly that. Not managing the details. Being content with what shows up. But if you're going to do that, if you're not going to manage the details, then what Margaret said is correct, and what Jesse has been leaning into is that, okay, if you're not going to manage the details, if you are not going to consciously choose absolutely everything, then these are the steps that you need to do so that you can be content with what shows up. And she talks about it. She talks about God focused. She talks about positive attitude. She talks about, and that's what Jesse's been talking about. It's like, okay, if you don't want to manage every single detail, if you don't want to make every single choice, then what you need to do is make the big choices. You need to make the big choices of, what are you going to focus on? What are you going to lean into? Are you going to, because I talk about the kind, compassionate, and loving thing every day. That is one of the ways that you can lean into not having to manage every detail of your life. If the choices that you make, the big choices that you make are love, are kindness, are compassion, are, as she says, focused, if you are choosing big goals that are in alignment with creativity, joy, happiness, then you're much more likely to have things show up that are in that alignment. Does that mean that occasionally we won't have things that show up that aren't in that? Yes, it's gonna happen. We're in relationship with other people. We're gonna bump up against other people. If you've heard of Eckhart Tolle, occasionally our pain bodies are gonna bump. And it's gonna happen. But if you have made the big choices and you have chosen to focus on spirit, you have chosen to focus on love, you have chosen to focus on kindness, you have chosen to focus on compassion, you've chosen to focus on creativity, then much more likely when you are not actively choosing, you're going to be content with what shows up because you have plotted the course. She makes the ship captains. It's like, ship captains don't just steer willy-nilly, nor do airline captains. They don't just fly their planes any old way. They have a route. They have a plan. They know, okay, I'm starting here and I want to get here and, this is how I'm going to go. And they have contingency plans if they run into rough weather. It's like, because I've been on airlines. I've not been on a ship before, so I'm going to use the airlines where they say, okay, there's some rough weather ahead. We're going to fly a little bit south of it, or we're going to fly a little bit north of it. It's still going to get us where we want to go. We're just going around. So, when we hit that rough weather or that patch in our lives, we can go around. We may fly through the edge of it, or we may just divert completely. We're still going to get where we're going because we've got a plan. We have a goal in mind. It's like, okay, this is where I want to go. So that's what, and so that therein lies that, okay, this is what I want in life. And lean into those qualities, lean into those choices. And the cool thing is that when you do that, then you don't have to manage every single little detail. You don't. You can stay astonished and amazed and wondrous, and then move in from there. And you can be content with what shows up when you are not actively choosing. And if you find that you're bumping a little bit into stuff that you don't really like, then you may want to go back and look at your default settings. I talk about default settings a lot. You may want to go and look, okay, have I lost sight of the goal? Have I lost sight of? Have some of the decisions that I have not been making, do I need to go back and make some of those decisions? And then then you can go back to letting life go as it is. I love the idea of this. I just, had to do airlines instead of ship captains. What we think, what we feel, what our attitudes are definitely directly affect our lives. And so if you are finding that you are bumping into things that you would not prefer, that are non-preferred, it may be time to go back and reevaluate. What were your dreams? What were your goals? Where were you planning to go in the first place? Have you been leaning into that God-centered? Have you been leaning into that love? And if you find that you've gotten a little complacent, all the more reason. It's like you want to do spiritual practice every day. That is regular maintenance. It's like brushing your teeth. Spiritual practice should be brushing your teeth. How many times a day do you brush your teeth? At least 2, right? Some of us manage to get a third in. I'm not willing to pack all that stuff up and take it to work. So, I brush my teeth before I leave the house. I brush my teeth before I go to bed. So that's spiritual practice. It's regular maintenance. Now, how often do you go to the dentist? Twice a year? Maybe twice a year, we need to do big time spiritual practice and reassess our goals and our attitudes and see, have we slipped a little bit? Have we slipped a little bit? That's how we chart our courses. All right, let me check in. We choose where we shall go and what we will experience. We may not always actively choose with conscious deliberation, but we do choose nonetheless. These choices are made through thoughts, feelings, and attitudes we adopt. If what happens in our life is not to our liking, perhaps we need a more positive, God-centered focus to guide us. So that's what I would say. It's like, if things aren't quite going where you want, maybe it's time for that check up. You know? It's like, there are all the little things that we do every day, the regular spiritual maintenance, the regular spiritual practice, which is our regular maintenance, like brushing our teeth. And then, a couple of times a year, maybe more, you may want to do it quarterly, or even 8 times a year, every couple of months, you do that check-in and you go, all right, what are my dreams? What are my goals? What are my attitudes? What do I need to shift? It's like, we don't have to hold on and white knuckle it all the time. If we do the regular spiritual maintenance and then occasionally check in on our plot course, we are the captains of our own lives. So, all right, Margaret, that's an excellent one. So if I were to give you a mission today, what would our mission be? So her last sentence is, we are all creative by virtue of our divine nature. Then let's create with positive goals in mind. So I would suggest maybe our mission today could be just that. Maybe it's time we do a check-in. So the mission today, should we choose to accept it, is to check in with our goals. Let's take a look at our chart. And maybe you actually have a physical chart. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to create a physical chart. What are your goals? What are your dreams? What are the experiences that you want to choose? Let's do some regular maintenance. Let's do a big check-in. And then we go back to the regular maintenance, which is our everyday spiritual practice. So that's the mission today, all right? If you are charting your own course, have you looked at your chart in a while? Okay, and then what I was talking about, that regular everyday spiritual maintenance, that's the spiritual practice, one of which I suggest is the spiritual practice of doing something loving for yourself, doing something kind for yourself, doing something compassionate for yourself, whatever that looks like. I like to, with spiritual practices, I like them to be little things that you can squeak in anytime, anywhere. Taking a deep breath before you speak, taking a nap, taking a walk, sitting down and engaging all 5 senses in a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or something like that, cup of hot cocoa. It is spiritual maintenance. It is everyday regular practice. It is a moment to check in with yourself. It is about self-care, but it's also about enjoying life. And so those little regular maintenance are the little minute adjustments we make to our course every day. And then every once in a while, be it twice a year, be it 4 times a year, be it 8 times a year, we do the big check-in and we go, all right, am I on track to where I thought I was going? And here's the cool thing. When you're doing these little regular maintenances, you might find yourself needing to do a big check-in because where you thought you were going is not where you want to go anymore. And that's okay. You are allowed to change your chart. You get to change your mind. As Jessie said yesterday, you get to change your mind. If it's not working for you, rechart your course. And if you want to go a completely different direction, that's up to you. All right. So that's what the regular maintenance is, that loving, kind, compassionate thing that I encourage you to do every day. That's just a regular check-in. And it might be, you might look down and you might see your check engine light go on and you might go, oh, it's time for a big check-in. And maybe you want to do that, just, go look at your chart. Or maybe you want to go meet with somebody. We have practitioners available. We have ministers available. You want to check in with somebody. There's an 800 prayer line that you can check in with somebody. And, check your chart. Check your chart. You're charting your own course, the captain of your own life. So, all right. I've beaten to death the loving, kind, compassionate thing. It is about creating a regular habit. It is about creating a default setting. It is about regular maintenance. And that is the point of spiritual practice. It is about creating the life that you want to live. Okay. I've lost my train of thought. So the usual stuff. I encourage you to engage your mind and your body. Do something to encourage you to engage your mind and your body. I encourage you to drink plenty of water. We may have a cold front. It may be in the 40s, so I'm going to switch to drinking a little warmer water rather than cold water. Ice water, That's what hot cocoa is for, right? So please do. Hydrate is super important. You will feel better if you hydrate. I also encourage you, it's raining outside or drizzling. So there was no bright light this morning. So I'm using artificial bright light to reset my circadian rhythms. You'll have more energy during the day. You'll sleep better at night if you get that bright light early in your day. So it's science. Look it up. And as always, in the words of Ernest Holmes, open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you, you do live in heaven right here, right now, because it is a state of mind. It is a state of consciousness. And that is the point of checking your chart. You are the captain of your own life. If you don't know where you're going, Spirit is going to take any clues from you that it gets. That's why it's important to be mindful of your thoughts, your feelings, your attitudes, and to check them regularly. All right? Heaven is a superpower. We all come pre-installed. Password is love. All right. And then we can always take Emma's advice. Look for the good and praise it. Look for the good in your life. Look for the good in others' lives. Look for the good in the world and just praise that. Praise that. Gratitude feels good. Looking for the good feels good. Try it. You'll like it. It is a spiritual practice. There are a lot of things that we do that are actually, we can turn into spiritual practices just by shifting our attitudes. Okay? I figured out how I could turn washing dishes into a spiritual practice. And if I can do that, anything can be a spiritual practice. So, all right, here's where I'm going to do the social media bit, which is we are Creative Life Spiritual Center, Creative Life Spark. I'm the running Rev Ryan on the social medias that I am on. I encourage you to check us out. I'm particularly proud of. I've been leaning into the YouTube playlists because the soul sessions, and we have one coming this Wednesday, are really cool. It's a good playlist. Check it out. You'll find all kinds of inspiration on that. Okay, so there's that. If you want to know what's going on with the center, because there are classes, there are book studies, and the book studies are cool. You drop in and out of those as you can. Unlike classes where you need to stay in and do the work for those. So those are available to you. And if you want to know, and we've got a show coming up. We've got a food market event with the Montgomery Food Bake coming up, which will be the weekend before Thanksgiving, which is a really good one. So I'm going to encourage you to email info@creativelife.org. That'll get you on the constant contact. That way you'll know what's going on even when I don't. Because it happens. It happens. The hot links are hot. So, here's where I get to encourage you. I know it's Monday, and I actually enjoy Mondays. I do. To have a great day, a wondrous day, a fantastic day, a magical day, an enchanting day, a wonder-filled day, a good day. And if that is too much pressure, simply have a day, because you are enough. Just as you are. You are a beloved child of God in whom God is well pleased, always and forever. I'm going to say it every day. I'm going to say that every day. And I want you to say that to yourself every day, because it's true. And it is part of that spiritual check-in. It's one of the things that should be on your chart. Yeah, I know. I try not to should you very often, but you are a beloved child of God. You are well loved. Always, by that amazing spirit that we are made of and from. So please remember that. All right. Reverend David should be on around 5 p.m. with you. I will be back with you at 9 a.m. tomorrow. If I have the time, I'm going to make sure that the Sunday service has finished its editing and make it public. So I can share that, so you can have access to that if you haven't seen it, or you can just, if you're on Facebook, just scroll back a couple of videos. It was good. It was good. We had a lot of fun, and Jesse said some really cool things. I'm really enjoying his Stay Astonished series. So please, if you haven't seen it, check it out. All right. So take care of yourself. Know that you are loved, and I will see you next time.